The topic of this video is GN setup. The mechanic will enter the machine setup code 20 on the MDT box to indicate that the machine is down for setup. Next, the mechanic loosens the 4 post lock nuts. They then remove the rear roller and unwind or tacky roller and dancer assembly. Next, they place 2 barricades, one in front and one in back of the preheater. Then they remove the preheater assembly bolt and swing the preheater assembly away from the machine. Remove the Teflon cloth assemblies from the machine and place it on the packer table. Next, go to the Yushin Stacker control panel and turn off the power to the Yushin Stacker. Make sure you do this prior to shutting down the main power to the GN. And remove the window guide. Next, post a setup flag display, then apply your lock and tag to the main power source. Adjust the mold lift pressure from 0 to 100. Then, evenly turn the 4 adjusting nuts upward approximately 1¼ inches. This will provide clearance for removal of the tool. Place the plywood hardboard on the heater. Then lower the tool onto the plywood hardboard by decreasing the mold lift pressure to 0 psi. Loosen all the tool mounting bolts from the upper platen. Now remember, if you have a second person working on the machine, they must also apply a lock and tag to the main power source. After all bolts have been loosened, remove the tool mounting bolts. Then separate the tool from the platen by raising the mold lift pressure to 100 psi. Maneuver the Big Joe behind the heater platen assembly. Slide the plywood hardboard with the tool onto the Big Joe. Check for loose shims on the top of the tool mount platen and on the bottom of the machine upper platen. Note the location and thickness of all the shims on the tool mounting plate and make a copy in the shim log. If necessary, use cleaning oil to clean the top of the tool and the platen. Remember to use the wood safety block in between the bottom and top platen. Remember to strap the tool to the Big Joe platform, then transport it to the production tool prep area. Attach the new tool to the electronic hoist. If taking a green tag tool, meaning the tool is prepped off the shelf, check the tool for any visual damage, eject pin actuation, and proper item code cavities. Using the electric hoist and straps, lift the tool and position it so the knives are facing up when you lower the tool onto the cart. Attach the Work Center event record and a copy of the shim log to the tool, then transport the paperwork and tool to the mold shop for disposition. Take a sample part and place it inside the cavities to ensure that the proper cavities are being used. Once the tool has been laid down on the plywood, make sure the front, marked with an F, is facing away from the Big Joe. Strap the tool to the Big Joe platform and transport it to the machine. Check the tool mounting platen for high spots by running a stone over the entire platen, and wipe the platen down. If a high spot on the mounting platen is excessive, a fine file may be used. Outline the cavity pattern with a marker so it is easier to shim when the tool is in the machine. This is a good time to unplug the thermocouples and disconnect the air lines in preparation for heater removal after the installation of the tool. Using the Big Joe, slowly raise the tool into position behind the heater platen assembly. Verify that the upper platen is open enough to accept the new tool. Remember that all tools vary in height. Slide the plywood hardboard with the tool onto the heater. Insert the tool mounting bolts into the upper platen and adjust the tool until all bolts align. Decrease the mold lift pressure to 0 psi, and this will lower the upper platen onto the tool. Starting from the center, slowly and evenly tighten the bolts to 50% torque, making sure that the tool is centered in the platen. Starting from the center, tighten all bolts to 100% torque. To separate the tool from the heater, raise the mold lift pressure to 100 psi and remove the plywood hardboard. Remember to place the plywood hardboard in its storage location under the preheater. To remove the heater, raise the heater guide rails by using the heater platen lift valve. Maneuver the Big Joe behind the heater platen assembly. Verify that all heater connections are clear and pull the heater halfway onto the Big Joe. Slightly raise the Big Joe's platform and continue to pull the heater the rest of the way onto the Big Joe, being careful not to damage the heater connections. Lightly spray the hardened steel plate with lubricant. Strap the heater to the Big Joe platform and transport it to the production tool prep area. Return the heater to the heater storage rack. Using the electric hoist to lift the new heater, verify that all the heater connections are clear and then lower the heater onto the Big Joe. Strap the heater to the Big Joe platform, then transport it to the machine. Take off strap and clean all dust, dirt, and lubricant from the hardened steel plate. Using the Big Joe, slowly raise and position the heater behind the heater platen assembly. Line up the heater rails to the guide rails, then slide the heater into place, being careful not to damage heater connection. Lower the heater guide rails by using the hot plate lift valve. Verify that the heater has dropped in place by grabbing the bar on the back of the heater and wiggling it slightly. Plug in the heater connection as well as all the thermocouples and attach all the air lines. Ensure that the thermocouples are clean and are reattached into their respective numbered positions. Lower the tool and adjust the upper post nuts and the lower post lock nuts so the tool is within a 1/4 inch of the heater for a quicker knife setting after it reaches the set temperature. Verify that the manual close device is in the close position. Don't forget to complete the universal setup sheet once setup is complete. When you're ready to bring the machine back into operation, all mechanics must remove their tags and locks prior to startup. After the all clear has been given and all locks and tags are removed, turn on the main power switch. Then set all the machine settings per the setup sheet parameters.